What's up, dudes and dudettes? We're here for something a little bit different today, but there's a pretty big announcement made by Magic Online, or not Magic Online, but Magic the Gathering on Daily MTG. And on the website, you can come check these articles out. But basically, these are rules changes, and they're pretty significantly impacting both. They're significantly impacting both Commander and regular Magic. Not regular, but other Magic formats that I don't really play or post on my website or channel. So, anyways, what's the big deal? So the Legend rule. So what happens in the Legend rule? So those of you not aware, if you play a legendary creature or any legendary permanent, like let's say kiki-jiki, and your opponent casts his own kiki-jiki, like he's also playing red and casts kiki-jiki. So normally what would happen is both of them would hit the graveyard because there can only be one, Can only be one. But now there can be two. As long as the two legends are not on one, not controlled by the same player. If your opponent controls kiki-jiki now and you play kiki-jiki, both of them survive. Both of them are just legally on the battlefield. When before they'd both die. So this is a way that people use to deal with legends. They would even use clones. So I have kiki-jiki out, and my opponent is playing mono blue, and he plays, Phantasmal Image, which copies kiki-jiki and puts him in the graveyard. So basically, use 2 mana to kill kiki-jiki. So that won't happen anymore. Instead, he'll get his own copy. So is that better or is that worse? In my opinion, I don't like this rule change. I kind of thought that the blue way of killing, generals and like legendary creatures was kind of lame. Like it's so easy. But now that I think about it, the whole idea that they're going to be able to just copy your general now seems a little overpowered. So another example. So I'm playing Avacyn, right? And one of the weaknesses of Avacyn is that she gets cloned very easily and just dies. But now, not only is she going to get cloned very easily because clones are still they're still their card. Phantasmal Image is still a card. They're going to have their own Avacyn, and all their crap's going to be indestructible. So where's the problem in that? Well, people can use your generals against you, so they copy your kiki-jiki. Now they can copy their Frost Titan, or they can copy their Hestermite that they just happen to be playing, or their Restoration Angel, right? So yeah, I don't like this change. Maybe let me know what you guys think. But I can't cast like kiki-jiki and then play a clone and copy my own kiki-jiki. The only thing that happens there is one of them has to die, and like there'll be a prompt asking you which one you want to keep on the battlefield. So let's say you have a Phyrexian Metamorph and you copy your own kiki-jiki. You get to choose whether you want the Phyrexian Metamorph to stay as kiki-jiki, or you want the original to go into the graveyard. So that's kind of weird. I don't think I'm gonna like this. I think it's gonna make the game annoying. Blue decks will just be very powerful now because they can just copy anybody and it stays there rather than just dying. And I thought the way now, even though it kind of weird and annoying when you spend all that mana on a powerful general and they just kill it. I think it's gonna encourage people to play more clones because they're never going to be really dead cards, kind of, because they'll get to actually get a card out of their copy. So anyways, that's the deal. I was kind of surprised that they changed this. There's an article that asks about what their motivations behind the change are, and I don't really agree with the reasonings, but I guess the guys are saying draft battles can happen now, which is like what everybody wants to be doing. Another problem with it is using a clone to kill like a hexproof general is one of the few ways you had of combating them. Like if someone has a Zur the Enchanter that's gonna like Voltron up with hexproof auras and stuff, how are you gonna get them to kill it? You have to play like Edict Effect. You have to Wrath, assuming that you can Wrath. And most decks don't play Edicts or Wrath. A lot of them don't. So it gives you like a deck like Earl the Miststalker, who's hexproof and just gets gigantically huge and basically kills you in 1 or 2 hits. And you can't interact with him because he has hexproof. Now you're gonna have to Edict or Wrath it. So it's gonna make those decks a lot better. I mean, they could get their own Earl, but most decks aren't gonna be able to take advantage of Earl or Zur, like creatures like that. They're not going to be able to interact with them because like you can copy Zur Earl, but if your deck's not built around those cards, you're gonna have a problem. Planeswalker uniqueness. So this one doesn't bother me as much. So what happens here is, if your opponent plays a Jace the Mind Sculptor, you can play your Jace Memory Adept, and they both stay on the battlefield. Or if your opponent plays the Chandra, you can play your own Chandra. But you can't play two Jaces and control two Jaces at the same time. So let's say I want to play my Jace the Mind Sculptor, and then I want to play Jace Memory Adept. So instead of both of them just like going to the graveyard immediately, I can keep one or the other Jace, and you'll get to choose. So, I mean, obviously, if you're going to play a second Jace, you're probably going to keep the second one, because that'd be stupid to play a second one and let it die. I don't know why you would do that, but I guess you could, if you wanted to fill your graveyard up for some reason. I don't know why they're doing that. It just seems kind of weird. The flavor doesn't seem good to me. I already thought it was very bad that you could have like two Niv Mizzets on the battlefield, like the new Niv Mizzet from Return to Ravnica and the old one from the Ravnica block. I don't know which set he was in, whatever the Izzet set was, but I don't know. That always seemed weird because I actually had played a Niv Mizzet person, and he had both Niv Mizzets in his deck. I mean, his general, and then he had the other one, and they were next to each other, and I was like, this is really wrong. Like, doesn't feel right. That doesn't happen too much because there aren't that many generals that have copies of each other. But that's the change. I guess there's a sideboard change. I didn't really look at it. So an indestructible is a keyword. Unblockable is not a keyword. So yeah, so there's some other changes, and if you want to read about them more and the reasonings behind them, I'm gonna actually have to read more about them. But I was kind of like really freaking out, like I did not like this change. I don't think I'm gonna like it. I think it's gonna make the game a little more annoying. I kind of liked the way it was, but now I feel like players are gonna pack their blue decks with more clones than they already do. So yeah, let me know what you think. And I actually think I'm going to do a little Dragon's Maze review of the gold cards, because I feel like I kind of want to chime in on the generals especially that they made, and I'll be right back with that. So if you don't want to read that or listen to that, feel free to shut the video off. And I also have a game coming up I will upload right after this. Alright, thanks for watching, and stay tuned. Okay, so here we are with the cards I want to talk about, the gold ones mainly, because those are kind of the most interesting ones. I mean, there are some good monocolored ones, of course, but yeah, let's do the gold ones. The set's been out for a little while now, you don't really need me to explain it, but the Advent of the Worm, I saw someone play this. I think it started populating it, and I just died. So yeah, it's definitely a good card in a Selesnya deck. If you're not populating, I don't think it's that exciting, but it's definitely playable. Alive and Well, putting it 3/3 and getting 2 life, that's fine. Nothing exciting. I kind of just want to skip to the cards that I really think are more exciting. Beckon Call, I haven't seen anyone play that card yet. It's pretty expensive. I guess I have seen people play Glimpse of Nature, mainly like Animar decks, and I guess this doesn't fit into Animar. It doesn't fit into Elf decks, so I don't really think it's going to do much in Commander, just the colors. You know, you actually have to have all 3 colors in your deck, unlike, Constructor, where you can just use it for the deck. But anyways, Blast of Genius, no, these cards aren't that exciting. The Blood Baron, so the Blood Baron, he's like a fixed Sarah Ascendant, and like, because you can't just play him and then immediately have him at 10/10, your opponent actually has to have 10 or less life. And I feel like this is how, like, Sarah Ascendant should have been fixed somehow. It should have been like, if you start with 10 more life than you normally start with, then it's a +6/+6, or a +5/+5, but the way it's worded, it wasn't worded for Commander design. Like, this is definitely worded for Commander design. Like, if it, like, they're, your opponent's not going to start at 10 life, so. I like the card. The protection from white and black is definitely relevant. If you ever played against Animar decks, you'll know that being pro-black and pro-white is definitely powerful. He looks like a fun card. His price tag is not, I don't think he's impact enough to, like, worth spending like 10 tickets or whatever he costs, or however much it costs on paper. But if you, I like the card. I like most of the Orzhov cards. I don't know why. I'm not really much of an Orzhov person. This Boros Battle Shaper, I haven't seen him play it yet. It is 7 mana, and most of the Boros decks want to get out a little bit quicker than that, but he's a Master of Warcraft with a 5/5 every turn, so it's pretty good. Breaking and entering, I'm kind of afraid of this. Someone playing this, like some Grixis deck, they get to mill 9 cards from your library and then pick one that's in your library and attack you with it right away, which can be pretty awesome. Surprised I haven't seen that one yet, but most people don't play Grixis online, which is kind of weird. Most people just don't play it. I haven't seen it in a while. These cards aren't that good. Catch and release, so it's kind of like a Razia's Purification, but worse on the release side, and the catch is just sorcery speed, active treason on any permanent. It's fine. Council of the Absolute. So this is like it reminds me a lot of Grand Arbiters. You can probably see from the art. They're like in the Azorius Chancery here, and they look like Grand Arbiters. They're a council. So it doesn't really have any commander applications. You get to name a card that's not a creature or a land. So you can't name your opponent's general. It's right there right away. It's not that exciting. And your opponents can't cast cards with a chosen name. So unless you like know you're like if you've played a friend, I guess that's probably good for a casual play group, so they can't just cast like Day of Judgment, or if they know they play Sphinx's Revelation. This is obviously meant to like be a constructed Sphinx's Revelation trump card, but the problem with that is most of those Sphinx's Revelations just play Wrath of God or Supreme Verdict, so I just don't see this card being all that exciting. I mean, if it said your opponents can't cast Supreme Verdict and then it had this ability, then yeah, maybe it would be better. So Deadbridge Chant, I've actually seen people play this card so far, and it looks way too slow. It's random, but it definitely looks because the problem with the good thing about this card is most of the decks that play this card are gonna want to just dump things in their graveyard anyway. So even if you blow this up before they get a card, they definitely got like 10 cards into their libraries or into their graveyard. So like a Carador is just going to be super cheap once they cast this. So keep an eye out for that one. That's another Exsanguinate. This Deputy of Acquittals, not that exciting. These cards, not that exciting. So here we go. Here's one of the legends, the Maritandris. So I've looking at this general and I'm like really disappointed by it because it doesn't do anything. I don't know why you'd ever play this over Tristani, the one who populates. You just prevent all the damage that would be dealt to creatures who grow. She costs 7 mana, she's 5/7, so she's basically just a 5/7 vanilla creature for the most part. And I've seen some people try to play her. I think they're mostly newer decks, newer players who are into Commander on MTGO, which is fine. I just her ability is not all that relevant. I think you could put her in a Tristani deck, and that might be good, but she seems like more of a win-more card. Like, if you're making enough tokens that it matters, you probably don't really care about her ability unless you're playing a red deck. But I was kind of disappointed by her. I don't know how you guys feel. Exava. So I've seen someone play Exava, and the thing with Exava is she doesn't give you any real value. Like, Olivia gives you value. You can kill creatures, steal them. Like, if you on tap with Olivia, you're pretty much gonna win most of the time. Or if you play the Goblin or what's the name of like Bogart Auntie? That's basically it's the same exact converted mana cost and power and toughness, but lets you get goblins back from your graveyard every turn, so you can like play Tarfire on them every turn, or you can do stuff that's pretty good. Broken. But Exava just makes creatures with +1/+1 counters on them have haste. So you can't like have a Bloodthirst deck, because having a Bloodthirst creature have haste doesn't really help you, because they actually need to be played in the second main phase, or you'd have to Lightning Bolt them and then play your Bloodthirst guy. I guess some of the Rakdos cards from the set, like from Return to Ravnica, would work with this, but most of those creatures aren't that great. It's not that good as a general. I guess she could be okay as a 4/4 haste in a Rakdos Lord of Riots, or any kind of Rakdos-y deck. Maybe even a creature in like a Jund deck that plays +1/+1 counters, like what's the name of that guy? Like it's bigger, Crash. He could probably be pretty good in Crash. But Crash usually needs to kill things before he gets +1/+1 counters. I don't know. This card doesn't seem like... I think these legends have just been underwhelming. Far and away, pretty good. I mean, making people... You're going to actually need to start playing cards like this when people's clones don't work anymore. You're going to have to actually kill their generals with effects like this, bouncing a creature, returning it to their hand. So that's definitely something to look out for. Gaze of Granite. People are saying it's like the next... What is it? Next... Oh my god, I'm drawing blanks today. I'm sorry. I just drove to Staten Island and back in one day. It was pretty terrible. Pernicious Deed, right? But you have to spend all the mana on one turn, and that's not really what you want with Pernicious Deed, because you want to, you know, blow up big things or selectively threaten them, stop them from playing permanents. I mean, the card's fine. I'm sure it's going to destroy me at some point, and I'll be sad. I'm not really excited about those cards. Gleam of Battle seems like it's pretty good. The Kaporos deck. Goblin Test Pilot. Why did they print this card? It's... let me know what you think about that card. I don't think anyone's going to be playing it. Those cards aren't all exciting. So Lavinia. So she's another one of the possible generals. And her ability is just so random. Protection from red. Well, I guess that's good. So when she enters the battlefield, detain each non-land permanent your opponent's control with converted mana cost 4 or less. So you can stop them from doing anything for a turn. Okay, that's decent. I guess you could play her in a Azorius deck. I don't think she makes a good commander, though, because like, what are you really accomplishing? You're stopping them from attacking you, you're stopping them from using their Planeswalker for a turn, but they still have those things. Maybe you're trying to make them commit to the board more and then get Wrath. I mean, she's pretty good if you can blink her with, like, Fencer. You know, play her, make them commit harder. You know, blink her out, Wrath the board with, you know, Fencer, and then she comes back and detains more of those things. I might try her out in, like, Grand Arbiter, because she can lock down, like, Soul Rings and things of that nature. But she's not going to stop you them from attacking with a dragon. You know, they're still going to be able to hit you, because those are usually more than 4 converted mana cost. But yeah, it's stopping someone from using all their artifact mana. Like, this could probably just own, like, a Karn deck, but Karn decks are usually fast enough that they don't really care about this card. Legion Initiative. I have not seen anyone play this yet. People don't really play Boros online all that much, but the protection from Wrath ability is pretty strong, so it's something that you should consider. There you go. Master of Cruelty. So this card, everyone's like, oh no, you're going to go down to 40 life. I've seen people put this in their deck, but they've never hit me with it. I think it got milled or something into their life, like to their graveyard. So I think a Kalia deck is going to kill me with this at some point, because if you know, you can only attack alone, but Kalia puts them on the battlefield for free. So the ability triggers if he doesn't get blocked, and then Kalia just does 2 damage to you and kills you. Or they can just lightning bolt you, or, you know, anything. You can't crack a fetch land anymore, it's going to kill you. I don't know. I don't know if they designed this with Commander in mind, or they designed it because they wanted to make it good and constructed. I don't think it's done all that much in constructed yet, but I mean, it's annoying, but I don't think it's super broken. I feel like cards like Sarah Ascended are much more broken than that card. And then Melik. So Melik's the one I've seen a lot recently. It's a future sight where you can double your instants and sorceries. So whenever you cast an instant or sorcery from the top of your library, copy it, and you choose new targets for the copy. So if you get Time Warp, you know, you cast 2 Time Warps. You see a Preordain, you cast 2 Preordains. So that part, it gets pretty sweet. You obviously want to play a lot of instant sorceries, and I don't know, I think he's okay as a creature in a deck that plays in blue and red. I feel like you'd rather have Magus of the Future, but the ability to copy is more relevant. As a 2/4, he's pretty weak as a creature, but I like him. I might try him out in, like, Maelstrom Wanderer. Maelstrom Wanderer does play, you know, enough instant sorceries that it matters. And obviously you could play a blue-red, you know, counter, good stuff, control deck if you wanted to make him your general, and I've seen people do that, and it seems pretty good to me. And then Mirko Vosk, the Mind Director. So he's just another Dimir general that mills you in some random fashion. He just casts Mind Funeral whenever he hits you. That seems like fun. Seems like fun, but it doesn't seem very powerful. Unless you have Reanimation in your deck, then you can actually make it broken, you know, well, not broken, but you can make it more powerful, milling their best creatures and reanimating them. You can also put them in a dedicated mill deck, or just a Dimir deck that wants to do things with opponents' graveyards. Problem is people play Eldrazi. People Play things like Sarah Avatar even. So, I don't know. Play him if you want. It looks like a fun card. Doesn't look super good in Commander. Notion Thief. So Notion Thief's the card people are like, well, this card seems like it could actually be problematic for opponents because they won't be able to like cast Preordains effectively in Ponders. And things like even Harmonize. Those are, I mean, there's a lot more cards you think that this will probably interact with. As a 3/1, he's not exciting. You're not going to actually kill your opponent with him, but you could flash it in, own your opponent, and then they have to find a way to deal with him before they cast the random cantrips. So I might actually try him out. I don't think he'll be good, but I think he's kind of fun. And one thing about Commander is you want to play... Don't always have to play the best cards. I need to remind myself of that sometimes. Sometimes it's just good to play fun cards, but one thing that can happen is your opponent can cast Consecrated Sphinx, and unless you find a way to kill Notion Thief, you'll deck yourself, because they can just keep drawing cards off Consecrated Sphinx. Your effect will get replaced, or their Consecrated Sphinx draw will get replaced with your draw, and they can just keep collecting yes, and you have to keep drawing 2 cards. There's nothing you need to stop it besides killing him. So, yeah, that's something that can happen. And Obsidat's Aids. This card seems okay in Orzhov. I like it. The art doesn't seem that exciting. I don't know what's going on there. But you can return any permanent. So a land, a Planeswalker, an enchantment, an Omniscience. Fun times. So Plasm Capture is another good card, another card I'm going to have to watch out for. I've seen people play it, and it's mana drain for 2 more mana. Both have to be green, but you get to spend it mana as any color. One of the problems with mana drain is it only gives you colorless. So if you mana drain on turn 2, on your turn 2, you can play like a 3 or 4 or 5 drop on that next turn, maybe even 6. But you only have 2 or 3 colored mana, so you can't do anything like insane. Because a lot of the good cards are like need 2 blue, so you can't play 2 double blue cards. But this will help you do that, but it does cost 4 mana. I think I read that R&D originally wanted to make this card a blue-red card, but they felt that the idea of making mana should be in green. So that's why it's a green card. So in case you wanted to know, they originally design made it a blue-red card, but development changed it, I think, to blue-green. So, kind of interesting note. Progenitor Mimic, so he's a clone, speaking of clones, that makes more of the creature you copied. So it's pretty cool. I don't think it's broken. It's kind of slow. 6 mana, and you don't know if you're going to untap and get this effect, but if you do, it's going to be cool. And, I like it. I might try it out. Right now it's kind of expensive. I think it's a couple tickets, 3 tickets, but I'm not in a rush to get them, so I'm not really like, oh, I need to get this card, it's so bad. Plus, I don't really like the art. I don't really know what these are supposed to be. Maybe you guys know, let me know. Putrefy is a reprint. It's a good card. I like it. Kill a creature or an artifact, and there's plenty of creatures and artifacts running around. So Ral Zarek. People thought Ral Zarek was going to be super good and constructed. There are combos with him where you can untap any permanent and then tap theirs, so he's not really good at protecting himself besides Lightning Bolt, his -2 ability, so that's fine. But the +1 lets you, tap an extra mana every turn, untap your Gilded Lotus, Thran Dynamo, mana Vault, things like you can make a lot of mana. He's similar to Koth, and he can just tap a land. You don't actually have to attack with that land, but you can also tap one of their things. You can, on their turn, if they leave up 2 blue mana, you can actually tap their blue mana. They can float it, and then you can pass to the next main phase, so it kind of stops them from playing counter spells slightly. But yeah, it seems pretty cool. And then his extra turn bonus: flip 5 coins, take an extra turn for every time you get a heads or whatever you pick. Yeah, heads. I don't know if you guys have any stories of this. That seems like it'd be funny if someone flipped 5 tails and they didn't get anything, but it doesn't seem very likely. Reap Intellect. You get to, this card's similar to a card that's already been printed, but you get to make them exile X non-land cards from their hand. It's really expensive. It's like a really expensive Rakdos return that you can exile. Render Silent. Counter-target spells. Controllers can't cast spells this turn. So a lot of times what you'll notice if you ever play a control deck with blues, people will play like their worst spell first, hope that you counter it. You'll counter it because you feel like you can with that resolve, and then they play like a big bomb right after. And this will stop that. Does cost 3 mana, so it's like cancel. If you're playing blue-white, I mean, you might put it in Grand Arbiter. I'm not like in a hurry to get it, but yeah, it's fine. It's never gonna really blow your opponent out, but it'll definitely stop them from doing the whole bait counter thing, which people will do. Or if they're gonna play a storm deck, I guess it stops them from storming. These cards. So Rurik Thar is the other general, and he's been played quite a bit. The 6 damage to that player is pretty effective because you can't even play your planeswalkers out because it's just gonna nuke it right away. If you like you have a planeswalker on the field, they play the Rurik Thar, and you try to kill Rurik Thar with like a Doomblade, they're just gonna destroy your planeswalker and get a card out of you. And the Vigilance and Reach is a really weird ability for him. I guess I'm not sure why Red Green has a Vigilance card. I mean, he is relevant when you're trying to attack over him with a flyer, but his ability seems weird. It doesn't seem very cruel. Should be like haste trample or haste or just trample. I get that he's an ogre and he's really tall, so he can hit things. Not really sure why he's Vigilance though. And then Sire of Insanity. Someone's gonna own me with this card. I'm gonna be super sad. And I like how he's dipping this guy into here so he can eat him. It's like his little like green pot of sauce. This card seems really unfun, but I know people are gonna play it against me, and I'm gonna be sad. And then Sin Collector. It seems like a fine card. He's just duressing your opponent for only instants and sorceries, and he's a 2/1. That's fine. People are gonna play that card, and he's kind of like you have to counter him. Well, no. Either you counter him or he just takes your counter spell. So it's kind of awkward. Let's see, and then I think these are our last 2 generals. Tajik. So I've seen people play Tajik as a general, and he's never really done anything. He's just been a 2/2 indestructible because he does need 3 creatures to attack with him. He also gets condemned pretty well. He doesn't have hexproof. I like him as a card. I think he's a cool card. I just don't think he's super broken. I think he's probably good in, like, I'd rather play an Aurelia deck. Use Aurelia as your general and then put him in there. But on his own, I don't think he's all that great. Because if he's your only creature, he's just a 2/2. Then Teyza. I've seen people play Teyza. I've never seen her get cast yet. I just haven't played that much since the set came out. But she has Vigilance, protection from creatures, and she has no mercy attached to her, so whenever a creature deals damage to you, you destroy the creature, and you get to put a 1/1 white and black spirit creature token with flying onto the battlefield. You know what? This art on Teyza looks similar to promotional art from Duels of Planeswalkers with Liliana. I'm actually looking that up. Alright, so I got the art here. You can't tell me that these 2 cards don't have like a similar art. Similar, I mean, they're definitely in a similar pose and in a chair. Which I thought was interesting. That's what I first thought when I saw that card. But yeah, I mean, these cards are fine. I feel like these are better than the other ones I talked about. I mean, I think Teyza is. Teyza and Rurik Thar and whatever what I talked about. Anyways, none of these cards. Turn and Burn. Turn and Burn's actually a lot better than I thought it was going to be. It actually kills anything, which is pretty relevant, and the burn is always going to be okay. But like, this will kill at Avacyn, because it removes Avacyn's indestructibility and then just kills her. So it kills any indestructible creature you can target, which is a lot better than I originally thought about that card. So it definitely is playable. Varolz, someone made like a 51 Varolz and killed me with it because they played, I don't know, they got a bunch of like silly things in their graveyard and they removed the blocker, and yeah, they just killed me. So each creature card in your graveyard is scavenge. Scavenge is equal to its mana cost. So like Phyrexian Dreadnought costs 1 and it's a 12/12. But obviously on the downside, you have to sacrifice it unless you sacrifice 12 worth of power, but you don't even care if you sacrifice it because you just want to put 12 +1/+1 counters on him for 1 mana. And he's also got built-in protection where you can sacrifice other creatures. So yeah, he's powerful, but he's kind of like all in, and he doesn't have hexproof. So he takes some work, and he's kind of fun. He looks cool. People are gonna play him. Unflinching Courage. So now the unclonable Earl of the Miststalkers can have 2 Armadillo Cloaks and kill you even faster. And then Voice of Resurgence. So who's gonna play this card yet? I mean, it's okay in Commander. I guess it's very good if you're playing Tristani and you're gonna just copy them, copy the tokens, or I guess populate them. We'll see. I haven't really seen him do anything yet, but I think he's not going to be as broken in Commander as he is in Standard or Modern. And then Voro the Whole Clay, I think is finally the last one, and I've seen people play him, and the problem with them is they do these weird, they play this, like, there was like this Simic artifact that doubles, or adds a +1/+1 counter to a creature, you have to tap it, costs 4 mana. I don't know what people are going to do with him, he doesn't seem that great. I think you'd rather just play any other Simic general. Like, comparing him to Edric, especially in 1v1, doesn't seem close. I mean, he's definitely different than Edric or any other Simic card, but I don't know. Until someone kills me with him with some broken thing, it just doesn't seem that great. I think that's most of what I wanted to cover. So anyways, this is a long video. I'm going to upload a game video, and if you didn't like this, I'm sorry, but it's something I want to do. I'm not going to color the colors. You've probably seen the cards by now, but I just want to talk about the generals mainly. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.